Hey everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a necklace today, and I'm going to use some of the products that came in the most recent bargain bead box, the Mountain Majesties collection. In case you're not familiar, Bargain Bead Box is a monthly subscription of beads and bindings. It's $22.99 a month, and that includes shipping in the United States. They have beautiful beads and bindings. It's always curated around a different theme each month. And if you're a subscriber to the Bargain Bead Box, you get a 30% off coupon to use in their sister store, Bead Box Bargains. And you can use it as many times as you want to during the month, and they already have great prices. I have a coupon code. It's Teresa2, and I'll put it on the screen here and in the description box below, along with a link to the page to sign up for the subscription if you're interested. The coupon code will save you $2 off your first box if you sign up. In here I've got some of the 6mm fancy Jasper beads and a couple of the 8mm matte fancy Jasper beads. And I know that doesn't look like enough to make a necklace, but I've already got half of it made over here, so I'm going to make the other half with you all today. I've got the Carabiner that came in the box. I've got one of the little compass charms that came in the box. This little dish is going to be my focal. I've got one of the matte beads and one of the 6mm beads. I've got a couple of pieces of the links of chain that came in the box. I've got some jump rings in there. And here I've got some of the links of the chain that came in the box that I've cut apart, and some jump rings. There's some 4mm and 6mm in there. And there 4mm and 6mm in here too. And then in here I've got a couple of pieces of the chain that I'm going to put around the back of the necklace, and a little bit smaller piece of chain that I'm going to use it as an extender, and a lobster clasp, one of the 6mm beads to hang off the extender, and a ball head pin to do that with. For tools, I'm going to be using my chain nose pliers, my tweezer pliers, my round nose pliers, both pairs of my bent chain nose pliers, the crimping pliers that I use to tuck in the burrs that are left when I cut off wire, and my cutters. And I have my little New Orleans shot glass to put my wires in when I'm done. I'm not going to be using them on camera because I've already got all these chain links cut apart, but I'm sure you all have figured out, like I did, that this chain is really hard to cut, so I cut it apart with my memory wire cutters, but I've already got it all cut up, so I won't be using those on camera. I'll put links to everything I can find links for in the description box below. So hold on, let me get some of my beads poured out and I'll be back. Okay, first I'm going to make a strip like this one that I've already got made for the other side of my necklace. So I've got some of my, oh, I forgot to say when I did my tools, I've got my 22 gauge German style wire, some pieces of my 22 gauge German style wire in silver here. I forgot about those. So I'm going to take one of my pieces of wire, zoom in just a little bit, go down. These are about 3 inches. I usually do about 3.5 to 4 inches, but I'm only wrapping one bead at a time here, so this is plenty. That's probably more than I need. I wish I could learn how to work off the spool to not waste so much, but I've tried and I just can't seem to do that. So I'm going to bend it at a 90-degree angle with the tool. Take my round nose pliers and put them in the crook of the bend. Round nose pliers facing me. Bend the wire back until it hits the tool. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take this part up, the shorter part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Take my chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Bring this wire down. Wrap it around the longer piece of wire about 3 times. Take my cutters and cut off the extra wire. Take one of my 6mm beads, put it on here. I really need to straighten my wires out more before I start these. I never do that. Now I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to go to the very tip of the pliers. I'm going to bend over the pliers at a 90-degree angle. Take my round nose pliers and put them in the crook of the bend. Round nose pliers facing me. Bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Hold on tight. Take this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Like that. Take my bent chain nose pliers, hold on to my loop. Bring this wire down a little bit. Take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers and start to wrap. You want to get that good first wrap real good and tight. And then just wrap till there's no more room to wrap. I'm going to take my cutters and cut off my extra wire. And I'm going to use these crimping pliers, and I'll go into that part there at the end that has the little half circles on each side. And I'm going to tuck in my burrs where I cut off the wire. And I think I mentioned this in the last video I did this in, but if you've never seen me do this, the reason I wait, I know a lot of people tuck in that burr as soon as they make the first loop, but I find it more helpful to do it afterwards when I've got that bead to brace against. If I don't, I usually end up mangling the loop and everything, so that's why I do that. Now I'm going to do the rest of these in a little assembly line fashion like I've showed before. I'm going to take my piece of wire and go down about an inch, probably a little more than an inch. I think I'm zoomed in too much. Let me zoom back out a little bit. Okay, probably a little bit more than an inch. I'm going to bend over to a 90-degree angle. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to pick up another one. We need 4 for this part right here. I'm going to go down a little more than an inch, bend over the pliers at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to do this with all of these while I've got these pliers in my hand. Just makes it a little faster when you're not switching tools so much. It goes a little faster. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers, put the round nose pliers in the crook of the bend, bend the wire back until it hits the tool, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, take this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool, cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the wire. And now I'm going to do that with all these. Spin my wire back, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, take this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool, cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the wire. And I'm making these links individually, and I'm going to connect them to my little pieces of chain with jump rings. I started to connect them directly to the links of chain, but when I did that, let me get this done here and I'll show you. When I did that, my little links were not laying flat, and I wanted my links to lay flat, so I decided to connect them with jump rings. Of course, I know I could have oriented my loops on each one in different ways to make them lay flat, but I just decided it was easier to connect them with some little 4mm jump rings, so that's why I'm doing that. So now I'm going to take my bent chain nose pliers, hold on to my loop, bring this wire down a little bit, wrap it around the longer piece of wire about 3 times. I'm going to do that with all these. Hold on to my loop. Wrap around about 3 times. I went back and forth about how I wanted to use that carabiner that came in the box. Started to use it as a clasp on a bracelet, and then I changed my mind, decided to use it as a focal in the necklace here. Okay, now I'm going to take my cutters, cut off all my little extra pieces of wire. Now I'm going to put all my beads on here. I'm going to take my pliers, go to the very tip of the pliers, bend at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to do that on all these. I'm going to take my round nose pliers, the crook of the bend, round nose pliers facing me, bend the wire back until it hits the bead, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, bring this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool, cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. I'm just going to do that on all these. This particular necklace is not using very many beads at all, so I've still got a whole bunch of beads left to make stuff with. Now I'm going to take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop, bring my wire down, take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers and start my wrap. Just wrap till there's no more room to wrap. I'm just going to do that on all these. Hold on to my loop, bring my wire down, make sure to get that first wrap good and tight. Okay, now take my cutters and cut off all my little extra pieces of wire. I'm going to take my crimping pliers and tuck in my little burrs on all of them. I think it's the one I already made. I don't need to do him. I think that's the one I made first. Okay, so I got all my little beads wrapped. So hold on, let me get my little pieces of chain and my jump rings and I'll be back. Okay, I've got my beads here, my little 4mm jump rings and my little links of chain. And I'm just going to connect them together here. And I find it easier to use my tweezer pliers and my smaller pair of bent chain nose pliers when I'm using these little 4mm jump rings. So I'm just going to open my jump ring. Put one of my 6mm beads on and one of my pieces of chain. Close my jump ring back up really well. I'm going to take another 4mm jump ring, open it up, put my piece of link on here and one of my 8mm beads. Close my jump ring back up. Another 4mm jump ring. Attach it to my 8mm. Attach another piece of chain. And I'm just going to keep doing this, alternate between my 6mm and my 8mm until I get my strip made. And then I'll come back and we'll do the focal. So I'll be back. Okay, I've got my 2 strips made here, and now I'm going to make my focal. So I'm going to take my pliers, and I cut these wires way too long. I really don't need this much, but I am going to wrap these two directly to each other though. So I'm going to bend over to a 90-degree angle. Around those pliers, put them in the crook of the bend. Around those pliers facing me. Bend the wire back until the wire hits the tool. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take the shorter piece of wire up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the wire. Take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Pull my wire down. Wrap the loop around wrap the shorter piece of wire around the longer piece of wire. Take my cutters and cut off my extra wire. Put my 6mm bead on here. Take my pliers, straighten up my loop down here. Go to the very tip of the pliers. Bend over at a 90-degree angle. Around those pliers, put them in the crook of the bend. Bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Bent chain those pliers and hold on to my loop. My other bent chain those pliers and start my wraps. Make sure to get that first wrap good and tight. Just wrap till there's no more room to wrap. I'm going to take my cutters, cut off the extra wire. My crimping pliers and crimp in my little burrs. going to take another piece of my wire, go down about 1.5 inches, bend the wire over at a 90-degree angle, around those pliers in the crook of the bend, bend the wire back until it hits the tool, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool, cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the wire, pliers, and open up my loop, thread on this one that I just made, close my loop back, hold on to my loop, take this part down a little bit, wrap it around the longer piece of wire about 3 times. I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire, take my 8mm bead, put it on here, go to the tip of the pliers, bend over at a 90-degree angle, around those pliers in the crook of the bend, bend the wire back until it hits the bead, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, bring this part up and under here until it's the bottom of the tool, cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Now I'm going to open this loop and see if I can wrap this directly to my little compass charm. I'm going to close my loop back. Hold on to my loop with my bent chain nose pliers. Bring the wire back down a little bit. I think I'll start it a little bit with my hand. This part can be fiddly when you're trying to wrap it directly to this charm. I'm going to take my bent chain nose pliers and start to wrap. Wrap till there's no more room to wrap. Now I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire, grabbing pliers and tuck in my little burrs. That's what I've got now. So now I'm going to take my 2 strips that I've made here. I'm going to take a 4mm jump ring, open it up, put one side of my necklace on, one of my links of chain, close it back up, and do that on this other side. Close it back up. Now I'm going to take my carabiner here. I'm going to take a 6mm jump ring. I'm going to attach one side of my necklace. my carabiner, and I knew I was going to have to open that up wider. Close it back up. Make sure it's closed back up well. And I know I could have just opened my carabiner and fed my chain onto it, but I wanted my chain to lay flat, and it wouldn't lay. It would lay sideways like that if I did that. So that's why I'm attaching it with a jump ring. So now I'm going to do this on the other side. Close my jump ring back up really well. Now I'm going to take my focal I've made here, and I think it will lay the way I want it to if I attach it with a jump ring. If I can get it on there ever. There we go. On my slit, make sure this is closed up well. Okay, let me see if that's hanging. Yeah, it's hanging straight. Yeah, that's good. So now I'm going to get my chain and stuff that I'm going to put on the back of the necklace. Hold on, I'll be back. Okay, now I've got 4 lengths of the chain that I'm going to put on each side here. I'm going to get another little 4mm jump ring. I'm really testing myself with these 4mm jump rings today, y'all. Put on my chain. Put on one side of my necklace. Close my jump ring back. I'm going to take another 4mm jump ring and do the same thing on this other side. And now I'm going to take okay, I think I was supposed to have an 8mm jump ring and I don't see one. Hold on, let me get one. Okay, now I'm going to take a 6mm jump ring and open it up. side of my necklace on it. Put my lobster clasp on there. Close it back up really well. I'm going to take an 8mm jump ring. Put it on this side. Put my little piece of extender chain on here. It's 3 links. Get it closed back up really well. Now I'm going to make my little dangle to go on my extender chain. So I got a ball head pin. I'm going to put one of my 6mm beads on here. Go to the tip of the pliers. Bend over at a 90-degree angle. Around those pliers in the crook of the bend. Bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. I'm going to open my loop. I'm not going to forget this time. I'm going to take my little piece of extender chain and thread it on here. I didn't open my loop enough. Okay, I'm going to close my loop back. Take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Try to hold my chain back here out of the way. Bring this down a little bit. Grab my other pair of bent chain nose pliers. Start to wrap. That first wrap getting tight. Just wrap till there's no more room to wrap. Take my cutters, cut off my extra wire. Take my crimping pliers and tuck in my little burr. So there's my necklace. It's pretty long, like I tend to make. Hold on, let me get my stuff put up and I'll lay it out here and we'll look at it. So I'll be back. Okay, there's my necklace with the Carabiner clasp in the front. Like I said, I went back and forth on how I wanted to use that. I thought about using it as a clasp for a bracelet, and I thought about using it in the back of the necklace, and then I finally decided to use it as the focal. There's just so many different ways you can use it. It turned out to be a pretty long necklace, but that's pretty normal for me. I hardly ever make a short necklace. Like I said, if you're not subscribed to the Bargain Bead Box and you decide you want to be, that coupon code will save you $2 off your first box. I do believe it to be a really good value box. I've already made, this will be the 3rd necklace, and I made a pair of earrings, and I've still got a ton of beads left, so I'll have lots and lots of pieces out of this box, so I do believe it to be a very good value. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, hope you all have a great day. Take care.
you.